Moldovans vote yes to Europe, but by the narrowest of margins.
With 2 weeks to go before the U.S. presidential election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump increased the campaigns in the must-win Pennsylvania swing state.
Tens of thousands of Georgians marched through Tbilisi in a show of support for their country joining the European Union.
US-based Turkish Islamic scholar Fethullah Gulen has died at the age of 83. Authorities in Ankara confirmed his death on Monday, describing him as the leader of a dark organization. He was accused of orchestrating the failed 2016 coup in Turkey, but Gulen, who had lived in self-imposed exile in the United States since 1999, denied involvement. According to his followers, Gulen's movement, known as Hizmet, seeks to spread a moderate brand of Islam.
Moldova is now a step closer to the European Union, but it wasn't a landslide victory at the polls. On Sunday, citizens of the Eastern European country voted by a narrow margin in favor of a constitutional amendment with a view to accession to the EU. Turnout was much higher than the required minimum of 33% to make the result binding, but only slightly more than half of the voters chose yes, leaving supporters of European integration and President Maya Sandu visibly disappointed. She blames Russian propaganda for the result. She didn't mention Russia by name, alluding only to foreign forces and denouncing what she called an unprecedented assault on her country's freedom and democracy.
Grupări criminale, împreună cu forțe străine, ostile intereselor noastre, au atacat țara noastră cu zeci de milioane de euro, minciuni și propagandă, cu cele mai mizerabile mijloace pentru a duce cetățenii și țara noastră într-o zonă de incertitudine și instabilitate. Avem probe și informații, precum că ținta grupării criminale a fost să cumpere 300.000 de voturi. Dimensiunea fraudei este fără precedent. Scopul a fost compromiterea unui exercițiu democratic.
Sandu received the most votes in the presidential race held parallel to the EU referendum, but she couldn't make it past the 50% plus one vote threshold needed for an outright win, and now has to face a runoff on the 3rd of November.
It was a sad night for Maya Sandu and the supporters of Moldova in the EU, who were expecting a significant victory on the eve of the referendum. The outcome of the vote is set to make waves in Eastern Europe and in Brussels. Vincenzo Genovese, Euronews, Chișinău.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the majority of his Western allies were supportive of his so-called victory plan. He said he got positive signals on the use of long-range missiles. However, he criticized the fact that some countries, including the US, the UK and France, wanted to coordinate their decisions with each other whether to give permission to use the missiles into Russian territory. Alexander Kornienko is the deputy spokesperson for the Ukrainian parliament. He said it has been a crucial factor for Ukraine since the start of the war.
Because we asked for that even in 2022, because we all understand that one of the biggest and important, part of stress to Russia, it's to stress to Russia military objects near Ukraine, close to Ukraine, but not close maybe. Something far, and we do it right now with our, creative solutions like using long-range drones and someone else. But of course, if you talk about real serious part like military strategy of that, we need to use long-range artillery, of course.
Meanwhile, Ukraine says Russia is attempting to beef up its forces by using 10,000 North Korean soldiers escalating and widening the scope of the war. President Zelensky warned about this development in Brussels, where he outlined the victory plan with allies in the EU and NATO.
So, we know about 10,000 soldiers of North Korea that they are preparing to send fight against us. This is really urgent thing because Iran, they gave, drones, licenses to produce these drones and missiles, yes, but not people, not officially, yes? And here we see this first step in this war, and this is the first step to a world war.
Allies are yet to give official responses to the victory plan, which sources say it requires a major upgrade in military support. However, the majority of allies recognize that time is running out to help Ukraine win.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Tens of thousands of Georgians have marched through Tbilisi in a show of support for their country joining the European Union. The rally comes just a week ahead of parliamentary elections set to take place on the 26th of October. That vote is widely seen as a test to determine whether Georgia returns to Russia's orbit or continues on its pro-European path. Last year, the EU granted Georgia candidate country status, but since then, opposition supporters argue that the ruling Georgian Dream Party has derailed the country's chances of joining the bloc. Two recent pieces of legislation in particular raised eyebrows in Brussels. Earlier this month, Georgia's parliament speaker signed a controversial anti-LGBTQ+ rights bill into law. That includes bans on same-sex marriages, adoptions by same-sex couples, and limitations on the depiction of LGBTQ+ couples in the media. And in May, Parliament passed a controversial foreign agent law that requires media organisations and NGOs to register as foreign agents if they receive at least 20% of their funds from abroad. The ruling Georgian Dream Party claimed the bill would curb alleged foreign attempts to sway domestic politics. But critics dubbed it the Russian law because they say it mirrors similar legislation adopted by the Kremlin to target, discriminate and ultimately outlaw political opponents. Pro-European President Salome Zurabishvili has long been at odds with the Georgian Dream and refused to sign both bills into law. The laws have been roundly criticised by the European Union, leading to the freezing of Georgia's EU accession process. Israel's military has launched more strikes on Lebanon, it says to target banks and financial institutions that support the militant group Hezbollah. The IDF issued evacuation warnings for 24 areas, including 14 in the capital Beirut, warning that strikes were likely throughout the night.
אנחנו נתקוף מספר רב של מטרות בשעות הקרובות, ומטרות נוספות בהמשך הלילה. בימים הקרובים נחשוף כיצד איראן מממנת את פעילות הטרור של חיזבאללה באמצעות שימוש במוסדות אזרחיים, אגודות ועמותות כמחסה לפעילות טרור. אנחנו נתקוף אותם במהלך הלילה ונעדכן על תוצאות התקיפה בהמשך הימים הקרובים.
A senior Israeli intelligence official said the main target of the strikes was the Hezbollah-run banking system Al-Qad al-Hassan. It provides cash-based financial services and is used by hundreds of thousands of ordinary Lebanese. In a statement, the bank said the strikes were a sign of Israel's bankruptcy and assured customers their funds were safe. A year of escalating tensions and frequent cross-border fire between Israel and Hezbollah over the conflict in Gaza turned into all-out war last month. Israel launched what it called a targeted ground operation into Lebanon at the end of September, with as many as 15,000 troops said to be inside the country. The IDF said Hezbollah fired more than 170 rockets into Israel on Sunday, with 3 people slightly injured from a fire sparked by a strike on the northern city of Safed.
Tourists arriving in Greece this week may receive an unexpected welcome as labour unions distribute English leaflets highlighting the harsh working conditions in the tourism industry. Protests are also planned at key locations including ports, airports and archaeological sites.
Ζητάμε αυξήσεις οι οποίες θα καλύψουν την αγοραστική δύναμη του μισθού μας, την οποία την έχουμε χάσει λόγω της έκρηξης της ακρίβειας, 12% για 2 έτη, 6% για 1 έτος και ζητάμε εν έτη 2024 να εφαρμοστεί και σε εμάς το πενθήμερο 40ωρο.
A shortage of staff has been one of the biggest headaches for the Greek tourism industry in 2024. And although there has been an increase in tourist arrivals this year, Greece is not growing as fast as other Mediterranean countries as a holiday destination.
Χώρες Μεσογείου και οι βαλκανικές χώρες συνολικά αυξάνουν το μερίδιό τους, που σημαίνει ότι οι τουρίστες προτιμούν αυτή την περιοχή για τις διακοπές τους. Τώρα, βλέποντας τη χώρα τη δική μας, συγκρινόμενη με τις υπόλοιπες χώρες, φαίνεται ότι αυξάνεται μένα, αλλά όχι με την ίδια ταχύτητα.
Public infrastructure such as ports, airports, water and sewage networks and waste management is struggling to keep up with the rising number of tourists. Experts say that to keep Greek tourism sustainable, a different and more comprehensive approach is needed.
Να διαμορφώσουμε προϊόντα έξω από το ήλιος θάλασσα, για το οποίο είμαστε πάρα πολύ ισχυροί πλέον ως διεθνές brand για τη χώρα, να ενισχύσουμε τις υποδομές μας, το ανθρώπινο δυναμικό.
There isn't a magic number as far as like how many tourists you can have in a destination. It's really about how you manage the destinations, how you manage the impact. For too many years, we've been measuring tourism with just the volume of tourism that arrives and just, how much money they leave behind.
One of the primary goals for the tourism industry in the coming years is to extend the seasonality of travel and promote the beauty of mountainous Greece.